Welcome to the Regular Joe's podcast. I'm Dave Pisani.
I'm Barry Kay.
And I'm Todd Pleasant.
Ooh,
Third time's
pre-show gold you're missing, people. Pre-show gold.
Apparently I need to start drinking out of a different cup.
Yep, third time's a charm.
There you go. You got to still wear a mask, just so you know.
Wear a mask
unless you're
and vote. Two things.
And
both very, very important.
Vote. As we speak, it's election day is a week from today. We're Tuesday, the October 27th.
And when this drops, it's only 3 days away. So
only
get
3
out.
days away.
3 days away. Vote early if you can. I voted.
I have voted.
Batman. Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
I tried. I'm
Barry's...
going to, though. I was not waiting 3 hours, but however long it takes when I go next time, I will wait. Get my vote in.
It's important.
Good. It's important. So get out there and vote. We could fix this thing, people. I think we could fix this thing. Okay, today, The Right Stuff is on Disney Plus. Is this the first Star Wars thing non-Star Wars thing we're watching on Disney Plus? No, that's not true.
No, we watched
that
prop show.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to take a look at other TV shows that are sort of based or have something to do with NASA.
Yeah.
As just an experiment.
Yep.
But let's go random. Todd's been waiting for this one for...
Oh, yeah.
I have. According to one reputable source, Oscar Isaac is in talks to be cast as Mark Spector, Moon Knight, and various other identities. Some less reputable sites say he has been cast.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, some of them are already saying
I'm still going.
I
I think Variety, which says he's in talks, is probably more reliable than any of the other things which have no which have no citation, but say he's been signed. He will be awesome. This is exactly the kind of character they need. They need someone who can be polished up, but can also have a rough edge. That he's definitely gonna have a dark side. This is, like you said, batshit crazy Batman. And yeah, he can totally drive this home. One of the concerns that I've had with this was they want to make this. They're going to do something here they've never done before. They're going to take a character introduced on TV and merge him into the cinematic universe. So they need someone with that kind of gravitas to do it, and other people that have been talked about just haven't been that way. So, his other Marvel-ish contribution was as Apocalypse in Age of Apocalypse, but since only 4 of us saw that film, that won't be an issue.
I wish it wasn't the 3 of us.
Yeah, I wish we weren't 3 of the 4 people.
I wish we were talking about some other people who had seen it.
But that's I don't believe that's considered in canon, and besides, you couldn't recognize him anyways. But I think he's a really good actor. He's been great in some films I've really liked, and like I said, kind of brings the intensity that I think the role needs. But he can do humor, he can do a whole range of different things, and again, he's, by most interpretations of this character, he's going to play a person with multiple personality disorder or dissociative personality disorder. And it should be cool. I'm really psyched for this. So
good. They announced the director too, so they're rounding the.
They were supposed to be starting in November, and that would have been really interesting without someone cast. So, yeah.
Disney though, and maybe it's more for Star Wars, but I think they do it with Marvel too. They tend to not announce things until either they've already started filming or they're done filming in some cases.
They just announced that Shang-Chi had finished, had wrapped. And it's like, when did that start? So, yeah, no,
really?
They're being very under the radar. And I think right now it's probably easier than ever to do that.
Yeah.
So, well, especially if they're using technology like they used on The Mandalorian, there's no open sets. They're filming everything indoors, even if it looks like it's outdoors. So it's a lot easier to keep things, under wraps.
Yeah, we should buy warehouse space somewhere and build those things and rent them out.
Totally should be doing that.
Yep.
We just need to. I'm going to start going to Best Buy and buy televisions.
Every monitor you can get your hands on.
Every monitor I can get my hands on. Isn't that what it is? Mine, I'll go next because mine sort of ties right into that. The rumor, again, is Tom Holland is starting Spider-Man 3, like, eminently. He just finished Uncharted. I guess that's a video game.
Yep.
And literally went from that to Atlanta to either do pre-production or production on Spider-Man 3, untitled at this point. But, I don't think we talked about this on the show. There's been a couple announcements, and I think they're for real. So one is Doctor Strange is going to be supposedly in this movie in maybe a mentory kind of role. The other thing that we should have talked about, but not that it's super old news, is they're talking about bringing Jamie Foxx's Electro back for this movie, which
they're talking about Jamie Foxx being cast to play Electro, but they're not saying it's the same Electro that he played the last time. It could be a completely different Electro, which is so bizarre that they would cast the same actor to do it.
Here's the other thing, and I'm curious, someone's theory on it was... So you take what's the name of Doctor Strange's next movie? Some
Multiverse of Madness. Yes, exactly.
So to bring the multiverse into this, and which makes a lot of sense because Sony's in it. Will they tie it into the Spider-Verse? And could they tie it into all the
people are already speculating that the other Peter Parker actors are going to have some role.
Tobey Maguire and Andrew McCarthy.
Whether it's a cameo or not.
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield.
If they had cameos in it, that could be super cool.
Yeah.
I think that would be wild.
So what's the connecting tissue between the two universes, between the Tom Holland universe and the Tobey Maguire universe?
J. Jonah Jameson.
Exactly.
He's the same guy in every universe.
He's the same actor in every
I
universe.
think that would be awesome.
Was he in the Andrew Garfield ones? Was that character?
I don't think they had that character.
We could look.
I don't think they did, but we could look it up. But again, I think that would be awesome if he's just consistent across all the universes.
That would be wild. If he's the epicenter of the multiverse, it's J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah,
I'm just a little. I like the idea. I'm a little concerned because it seems like DC is doing something very similar on their side. So I just hope.
But no one will care.
No, well, but we'll care a little bit. No?
Yeah, Flashpoint is going to be similar, but it's a different kind of story. I think we've already seen that the Spider-Verse thing can work, and I think if you bring Doctor Strange in, and we've already seen the different time loop kind of thing. I think if just to have like all these little iterations of different realities flash by would be kind of cool. Even if it's not...
Do you think that'll be the whole movie, or if it's just sort of a piece of it?
I think it's a piece of it. I think it's a piece of it, and I think about that, if that could be like a connecting theme through, because we know it's going to tie into the WandaVision thing. If like
it will.
Oh yeah, the WandaVision series is supposed to tie into the Multiverse of Madness. So,
okay.
So I'm saying, if that becomes like a connecting thread, like, I think it could be cool. So, yeah.
Okay, here's my question to you: what other actor needs to be in this as a cameo?
Oh, Nicholas Hammond, without question.
Absolutely. Is he alive still? That would be the best.
I do not know if he's alive still, but that would be great.
In a retirement home.
Oh yeah.
That would be interesting. Barry, what do you got?
Well, you guys took mine, which I figured you would, so I did have some backups. Just finishing off on Marvel, they said that filming is just about complete on Falcon and Winter Soldier, so, maybe a few months of post-production, we could actually see that thing maybe in the first quarter of next year, which could be good. They said that it was really rough filming it, so for whatever that's worth. I guess they've continued filming during the last few months, so...
Yeah, Anthony Mackie is complaining a lot.
Is he? I haven't heard any of that.
Yeah.
What's he complaining about?
The food, pretty much everything.
You're lucky you're working, buddy.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Get Broadway stars.
Most people aren't working, so... All right, so I just wanted to throw that in because that was the only other Marvel thing I had. But so Mandalorian, obviously, the first episode of season 2 comes out as we're dropping this episode that day. But for us, it's 3 days from now. 3 days from now. And this past Monday was the first, what I'm doing air quotes, Mando Monday, which was, I guess every Monday they're going to be releasing merchandise tied to the Mandalorian. This Monday, Hasbro released, and I'm about to text you guys a picture, because they actually got me to buy Star Wars toys. They released 7 Star Wars figures from the Mandalorian in the vintage figure style. So they put up for pre-order, I should say. They didn't release them, but they look awesome in their cheesiness. I absolutely adore these figures. They look just like vintage Star Wars figures would have. So these are pretty cool. There was a bunch of other stuff. I think people went crazy for it. A lot of stuff sold out right away. Nothing that I was super interested in except for these
Barry,
figures,
you didn't go for the Anovos Mandalorian helmet?
I didn't, and I didn't go for the quarter scale Cara Dune figure or, all the other fun stuff that they put out there. There's a lot of Black Series figures. There's a speeder biker scout with the Baby Yoda in a bag. There was another...
That's cool.
Mandalorian 6-inch figure with the baby and Beskar and a whole bunch of accessories. But I just... These figures really... I like that I only collect the vintage Star Wars figures, and I like that they made these look like those would have if these came out, 30 years ago. So I thought they were cool. So I guess we have, I don't know how many weeks of Mando Mondays they're doing, but expect there's going to be a lot of merchandise tied to the
plan on having some Mando money set aside.
Yeah.
Because
I only looked at the Disney stuff. I didn't see who else. Who was all this? Who did these pre-orders for these figures?
These were on a Hasbro site and like Big Bad Toy Store and all the like online retailers. I don't think they're exclusive to anybody. I think that they're available from multiple people. Oh, one other thing that I thought was cool, and I didn't buy it, but I did suggest to my wife that it might make a good birthday present next month. They're releasing a Mandalorian Monopoly, which I wouldn't necessarily care about. But it comes with the Star Wars, the Remnant Stormtrooper in the vintage style as well. So the only way to get that is through, I think it's Amazon.
That was on Disney's site,
and the Disney
store.
Wasn't it? Yeah, Disney Store and Amazon have that. But it's $50. So for $50, I don't need it. But if somebody gets it for me as a gift, then I can gladly take it.
Okay.
So good stuff. I'm glad that there's a wide variety of stuff, and I'm glad I'm not interested in most of it. My wallet is glad I'm not interested in most of it. Although I will also tell you guys, I did get my Mandalorian Hot Toys figure, and I haven't opened it yet. Because I'm still on the fence about if I need 2 of them or not. If not, I'm waiting for the one that comes with the child, and this one might have to move to somebody else.
That's the one we got, right? Wait, the one in the Beskar came with
the child. Yeah, that's the one that you and I both ordered, and it's not coming for a while yet. But the first one got here in time for season 2, so that's kind of cool.
I have not.
I'm worried that if I open the shipping box... I'm worried if I open the shipping box, then
it's all over. It's all
done.
I have not ordered that yet because I have a self-prohibition on any of the child figures. I just feel like it is so excessively marketed that I'm resisting it.
I bought the one that Barry bought.
Of course
the Black
you did.
Series.
Of course you did.
Look at the size of it. How did you not
Look
have
what I
it?
did with them. I put them on.
Oh yeah, yep. I
He's
just
being
feel
held by
like
my
I said,
Imperial
that
probe
thing
droid.
exists to sell toys, and
This is the only one I got.
But he's so
I
cute,
think
Todd.
I would get the Black Series
Mandalorian.
Is there a Black Series Beskar Mandalorian?
There
I would
is.
get that to go with this.
there
and
is.
That's it.
As of
I would definitely get. That's about it. I don't.
Yeah. I got one last thing.
don't
If you guys
Go ahead.
Good. Okay. So, HBO Max, now the home of Titans.
Oh, I did not know that.
Released an image today of what Red Hood will look like. The Red Hood being formerly Robin #2. It is awesome. I mean, it is dead on the best version of the comics costume. And this is probably the most comics accurate thing they've done, but it looks really good. And
So that's Jason Todd?
Jason Todd. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So that's the kid that's been in the show, right?
yes. And so, I think this is going to be great. So,
Is he a bad guy or a good guy?
yes, exactly.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So,
Did
he's
either
morally
of you watch-
questionable guy.
Did either of you see the trailer for Saved by the Bell that came out today?
Boy, that was on my
it
list.
Came out. I did not watch it.
Apparently, the Peacock Network is rebooting Saved by the Bell with most of the original cast in tow.
Isn't I've never seen the show. It's a little before my time or after my time, actually.
It's after your time for sure.
It's after my time, but isn't like whatever the guy's name is, Mark Paul Gosselaar,
Yep,
the mayor of California.
I think in that he's the governor of California. Because I did watch the trailer, so I am aware of what it's about. And Slater is a teacher at the school that they went to, and I think Kelly Kapowski is married to the governor. And it looked like
I don't know who any of those people are.
The girl, the stripper from that stripper movie is
Elizabeth
Showgirls.
Berkley.
Elizabeth Berkley. It looks like she's a counselor at the school. So I don't know. I certainly
She's not the girl from American Pie. That's somebody else.
No, that's somebody else.
I get those two confused.
Yes, but yeah. So I certainly won't watch this thing. But I found it interesting that they've even made it like that. With all the remakes and reboots, like that's kind of the last thing you would have ever thought.
That was proposed quite a while ago. I think that was proposed way before Peacock, and even that synopsis with what they were doing was out there over a year ago. So this may just be something they didn't think could fly otherwise.
There are other shows that have rebooted, which that shouldn't be. Do you know that they're... Not that I didn't like the show One Day at a Time. I thought Bonnie Franklin was super annoying, although Valerie Bertinelli was in it. You know, that show has been rebooted and is in its like fourth season.
Yeah, I'm aware. I've never seen it, but I'm aware. I think that they changed up the demographics of who the show was about. But yeah, I think
it
sounds like it's name only.
It's a straight reboot. They just took the premise and played with it.
Yeah. Who plays that annoying
Schneider?
Superintendent.
Schneider, the superintendent.
The show was just awful. Oh my god!
Never was a good show. You know what? One last thing I just got to throw in because I've talked a little bit about the fact that I watched that show, The Vow. The scumbag Keith Raniere, who was the leader of that cult, got sentenced today to 120 years in prison.
So we will now find out definitively. We'll find out if he is immortal as well as being the smartest man alive.
Yeah.
So because that's a stiff stretch.
You know what we didn't talk about was the fact that Starz has the night.
Yeah.
Did we talk about
the same
this
exact show?
The night that HBO's series ended, Starz premiered their first episode of a show called Seduced, which is also about this same cult, but it's from
and they're doing
Catherine
a second
Oxenberg's
season
daughter's
of The Vow.
perspective.
They're doing another season of The Vow.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a one and done season, and at the very last end of the very last episode, they said coming soon, season 2, and apparently it's following his trial and indictment.
Yeah, I feel much cleaner for having not watched any of it. So
yeah, me too.
120 years, well deserved. Guy was a total.
You know who doesn't deserve 120 years? I don't know. Fanboy Collective, check them out.
Yeah, they definitely
deserve 120 years of our patronage.
Yes.
3-0 Snake Eyes. Interesting. 3-0's getting into the...
I saw that. I guess
really interesting.
Licensed it out again. So, cool.
Yeah, it looks good.
But this is based on the movie figure. It's based on a movie character. I looked at this today. And I think it's a very reasonable price point.
I was thinking the same thing. It is definitely
the 3-0
less
stuff is nice,
expensive
too.
than a typical 12-inch figure from a high-end retailer. So.
Yeah. But check that out. There's a ton of statues. There's a ton of busts. There's pops and hot toys and kotobukias and everything you need. A bunch of Halloween stuff. Not too late.
Really cool Freddy Krueger statue up there.
Freddy Krueger. Check them out online, fanboycollectibles.com. Check them out at their store
in Newtown,
their existing store in
Connecticut.
Newtown. Yes.
And tell them the regular Joe sent you. Okay. The Right Stuff. Okay, so The Right Stuff is on Disney Plus. It's a series. Now, I don't know how many seasons it is.
Can I ask you guys a question? How long has it been out? Is it brand new? Or has it been out for a while?
4 weeks old.
No, it's been out for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, because I found it almost hard to find on Disney Plus. It was not front and center on their list
of
originals.
You know why? It's under National Geographic. That's why.
Yeah.
And
So
I don't know
you gotta
why
hunt
they
for
did
it.
that. Maybe to make National Geographic viable, or because it's a true story, or I don't know. Leonardo DiCaprio had a hand in his company producing it, I believe.
Interestingly, National Geographic did that Mars series too. Do you remember? Anyways, we'll talk about that later. But so this is their.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, this is their thing.
Yeah. So I think, like people are doing, the first 2 episodes came out the first day. And I guess we're in the 3rd week. So episode 3 came out last week. Episode 4 came out this past Friday.
Oh, so it is more than 4 episodes. I was wondering if it was just 4 episodes.
No. It's definitely more than that. No, they're doing a weekly. And I'm not sure how many episodes it is. So I've watched all 4. They're definitely not even...
Yeah, I watched 3 episodes,
1960.
and I was wondering how they could possibly wrap this up in a 4th episode. So that makes a lot more sense to me.
I've seen 3 episodes as well. So
yeah,
it's probably 8 to 10.
I wanted to see the movie again. I haven't seen it in years. The movie was long. I mean, not only literally, but figuratively,
and
it's
lots
3
of Chuck
hours
Yeager.
15 minutes runtime, but it just feels long. I'm enjoying this. I mean, it's a space program. I'm enjoying it. They are taking their time. This is long too, but it's okay because it's episodic.
Okay.
It's okay.
2 things.
It might. 2 things.
The elevator pitch for this is Mad Men in the space program. Right?
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. 2. Okay. Name 2 flight directors. The only 2 flight directors you've ever heard of.
Chris Kraft.
Yep.
And the guy Ed Harris played.
Or in For All Mankind, right? Gene Cernan, right?
Gene Cernan. No, he was an astronaut.
No, not Gene Cernan. What's the guy's
Gene
name?
Kranz.
What's the guy's name?
That's who Ed Harris played. Ed Harris played Gene Kranz.
Gene Kranz. Sorry, Gene Kranz. Yeah. Okay. Same actor. The guy that played the flight director in this, Chris Kraft, the guy that played the flight director in For All Mankind is the same actor. Eric Layden.
Oh, it is?
Played both. It's
I didn't realize that.
This guy is now typecast. Sorry, you mean Gene Cernan. Anyways,
Ed Harris played
in the movie
John Glenn, and he played in Apollo 13.
Yeah.
So you
but
said
isn't
the
that bizarre?
pitch
That,
for
like I
this
said, there's two flight directors that anybody can name, and they cast the same actor to play both of them.
That's funny.
Right. So you say the elevator pitch is Mad Men in the space program. I've watched 3 episodes of this so far, and I wish there was more space program in it. It's all about their relationships and their personal lives, and
that's what I'm saying.
Like almost nothing about. I mean, I get that it's the backdrop is the space program, but the fighting at the bars,
I would reverse
and the
that
in
and
the
say
pool and
the other thing. The other thing is you can play Mad Men bingo watching this, because so far I have spotted and verified 6 actors that had reoccurring roles in Mad Men in this show. So apparently everybody who's got a short haircut.
I've only noticed one, so you're way ahead of me.
Yeah, no.
But the thing is, and I hear what you say, but Mad Men was based on advertising, and that shit really happened. And this is based on all guys who had any kind of cool job in the 60s were this guy. That's except for John Glenn.
Except for John
Glenn. But the other thing, I mean, I got to say, the first episode I think dragged a little bit. I think the second 2 episodes, the second and third episodes were a little more interesting. It seems to be going somewhere. I think that at least the pace is being established. This is going to be a drama. This is going to be a human drama. It's not as
I'd like to have more space.
I would too, but I think it's probably realistic in this regard that it's a few very intense moments, and this is everything else that happens around it.
And I think that's right. And I think that the fact that it's on Disney Plus and it's done by National Geographic, they are taking it to a very fine line, and they won't cross that line. So, there's if this were done on HBO or another network,
when the woman took her top off in the pool, you would have seen something. Yeah,
I'm not just
Disney,
saying that you need to see her boobs.
I'm just saying I'm watching this. I'm like, okay, the
been...
Disney line, and okay, she turns around.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't have that in my head, and I'm feeling like it's it's sort of television. It's a little racy. I think it's more racy than other Disney type stuff.
Without question. But I will say I was just going to say with the whole premise and stuff, what I think makes this interesting is very much the way the Tom Wolfe book was interesting, but these are all type A plus personalities, and you put them all together in a petri dish, and this is kind of what's going to happen. And I'm actually finding it interesting. I'm finding, the first episode, I couldn't keep some of the characters straight. And I know
look alike.
Yeah, well, they all look alike, so
they all have the same haircut.
They don't really. I mean, it's sort of based on three guys. It's
seemingly, yeah. It's
Alan Shepard. It's John Glenn. It's Gordon Cooper. Yeah. A little Grissom in there, and you almost don't see the other guys at all.
Grissom is a caricature. I mean, but yes, but the problem is, like I said, every guy with brown hair is the same haircut, and it was kind of like, okay, wait a minute, yep, that's who it is.
Well, I think that guys in the military all looked like that at that point.
Oh yeah, no, there's no question. It's like I really genuinely appreciated that John Glenn had red hair.
And I don't remember, did the movie dig into their personal lives as much? Because I think they're sort of
it breezed over it, and this is where the pause,
that's why I think they're digging into a little more.
It showed
it's documented Alan Shepard was a hound dog.
Oh yeah, no, it made it basically touched on strife at home and the pressure on the wives and all that kind of stuff, but it didn't go into the individual relationships. I will say, if we hadn't just seen For All Mankind, I might be more interested in that. But I think there was a lot, there was a good amount of that. And I almost feel like For All Mankind balanced it better. Because obviously they weren't bound by fact, they could throw a lot more interesting things in to juxtapose the family dramas. And this, they're pretty much bound by history.
Yeah,
it's little trickier.
They're dramatizing and making up some things to try to move the story along, but for the most part, it is grounded in history and fact. What was funny to me was in the second episode, something happened on camera that was the exact way I was feeling. They bring them to the hangar where they're supposed to be living, and the guy goes, "Where's the airplanes?" And I was feeling like, "Yeah, where's the airplanes? Where's the spaceships? Where's the anything?" Like,
yeah,
we didn't see any. I mean,
I like third episode we finally.
In the opening scenes, you saw them flying a plane, and then you didn't see anything again until the third episode.
I like the fact that it was sort of NASA from the ground up. It's like NASA was two guys and a gopher.
Yeah, and they don't. Right? Yeah, and they was like, "Oh yeah, we got this, but we haven't built it yet. We got this, we haven't." And that was the. Yeah, because remember the thing is, a lot of things that a lot of the NASA stuff was being done at other places. Okay, that capsule came in from McDonnell Douglas. So they were basically on the receiving end of everything, and a lot of stuff didn't arrive when they expected it. I was glad they did work in the window thing, because that was that was just, to me, that was like one of the most iconic things from the book and the movie was the where's the window, and I think that was the point when they became pilots again instead of just passengers.
Well, that and the whole where's the stick.
Yeah.
One, we're flying it from the ground.
Right. Yep. So,
it's interesting that it's not as much, unless they're taking their time. Maybe they're trying to pull this out into more than one season.
All we've really seen is that simulator that spins you around, and not much else.
It's only 1960 by the end of episode 4. I mean, the first flight was still a while ago.
But we started with them prepping for the first flight.
Yeah, and then they went back in time.
So you got to assume by this season they're going to get to that first flight. and you're gonna catch up to that moment.
Yeah, I would think so.
So
it's well done. It's certainly well produced, well acted, and
no question.
And everything. So if you're into the space program, we're maybe sounding a little more negative than I think any of us are. If you're into this stuff, you can never get enough of it. It's just,
or just history. I mean, these are huge historical figures that, again, these are flawed men who made incredible sacrifices. But they were also 95% ego, and that's how they got to where they were to begin with. These guys are rock stars. I mean, this is you don't get to where these guys were, without being hyper confident and all that kind of stuff.
They touched on that in the interview for Life magazine. There was a line that was something like 30% of test pilots die, and the fact that you're talking to me means I'm really good at what I do. Like they were able to. They're very clearly showing how cocky these guys were.
Yeah,
and I guess they needed to be that willing to put themselves out like that.
Oh yeah, I mean that was the whole thing, and just the fact that they're crossing like pilots off that list of potential candidates because they're dead. Okay, I mean that was
the list wasn't up to date.
The list wasn't up to date. He's dead. And that was the nature of things then. This was, and also, we're very distant from this time in the past. But, you think Time magazine or Life magazine or whatever, these people were giants. I mean, a lot of these people were, came out of one of the wars to begin with, and were, extremely, extremely good pilots, but most of them didn't have enough combat to be, to have that. And so they I don't want to say had a chip on their shoulder about that, but were, had something to prove. They definitely had something to prove. And they pushed boundaries that were just incredible. I mean, the period of time from 1950 to 1960 in aircraft development was incredible. And these were some of the people that it was done on their backs of. And as you said, 30% of those people weren't around. So, yeah, I think it's like I said, I find it very, very interesting, even knowing all the history. I think they're doing a good job with it.
I do too. It's always interesting how they handle this kind of stuff. And, and then, we can get into the other shows too, because I think the later, I don't know, these days it's easier to do these things well, with more resources, and you look at I think For All Mankind's doing it better from a NASA point of view,
right? But there's also more NASA at that point.
That's what I was going to say. There's a lot more NASA in it. And, I think the reason I like For All Mankind so much is because this is history that we know pretty well, especially being three guys that are really into the space program. So to see the stories that told in a different way, and to have the alternate versions of history and different things happen than have happened, that to me has kept my interest a little bit more, just because we've heard these stories so many times. We've seen these types of movies, we've read the books, like we know the space program, so they're doing a good job telling it. But I really like watching For All Mankind because I don't know what's going to happen next.
And that is an interesting thing with that, and we're like, we've talked before about that, was I got to wonder what that's like watching for somebody who doesn't know the underlying history, whether they're just not fully appreciating that aspect of it. Whereas this, I watch it and I wonder on a few of the things, mostly in like personal interactions and relationships, if it was that way, and to what degree it's being dramatized. What could Alan Shepard have been that much a dick? But I very probably yes. Could John Glenn have been absolutely that straight? And yeah, that's it's kind of
it is. But the thing is, I do find it's a little too much the personal, not personal story, but we do need more space. I mean, they were doing other stuff, and I'm surprised. Something at least that's supposed to be on sort of a sciencey channel. In theory, not that it just happened to land there, but you'd think you'd see a little more. Honestly, I'm the only one who's watched Away, and I know it's on our list of things that take place sort of in NASA. It's almost like the 60s version of that. It's all in the interpersonal stuff going on, and we need some freaking airplanes and some space and some stuff, and maybe it'll ramp up
and just show more of the training stuff.
You also got to remember, these guys, and this is part of this drama, part of what fuels this drama, these guys were all sidelined for the most part for this program. These guys were taken out of hot seats and parked together and had things shoved in every orifice and did all these kinds of tests and did all this kind of stuff. But again, these guys were used to going from one plane to another, from one death-defying situation to another, and they're all basically waiting. They're all being prepped for this. Yeah. And that's I guess other than driving your Corvette very fast. Medical
condition, but they all smoked, or almost all of them smoked.
Yeah,
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah. That was actually recommended by doctors in the 1960s. So. It's actually true.
It's a lot of drinking, a lot of smoke. Thank God they got to the Corvettes.
Yeah, they did. They get to the I knew at that moment, it was like, okay, this is Dave's now happy, and But again, I like I said, I'm going to keep watching it. I think it's good. I think it's I think they're doing a good job with it.
I was actually kind of excited.
It's not Mad Men interesting. I don't think. I think John Glenn is probably going to be the most compelling character, and he's not that exciting a guy.
I find Shepard to be the most compelling character.
Yeah, but he's show. The thing with Shepard is, and I hate to have to use this analogy, but with Don Draper, you always felt like he was really close to doing the right thing, but just never did. He always kind of walked that line where you're like, come on, this is that moment, and then he didn't. You don't have that. You don't, for a moment, feel like Shepard's going to do the right thing. Okay? I mean...
He does in episode 4.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
And it's something, not anything specific that you'd even think, but he, the thing is, and again, I don't remember the movie, but the whole ear thing with him, that plagued him throughout his whole career.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I actually have that same thing he has, and when it flares up, it's miserable. That I get this vertigo from this ringing in my ear, and the ringing is at times super loud. Huh?
Tinnitus?
Tinnitus is the ringing. There's a disease. It's not a disease. There's a thing called Meniere's.
Okay. Yes.
That it sort of is a couple different things. So it's ringing, lack of hearing, and then vertigo. So I don't know if I may have mentioned it to you guys, but I'll tell the world. I don't care. But it goes on, it goes from ringing super loud, and when it rings loud, you get vertigo more, and you can hear worse, to almost it's non-existent. So where your hearing's fine, there's almost no ringing, everything's fine. It's now at the point where the ringing is super loud this past couple months. But I've sort of got the vertigo under control. But right now, it's very loud.
I've had a couple. Now we're going to break into the old men thing. I've had a couple kind of sinus infection things where I've had ringing in the ear for 2 or 3 days, and I don't know how people with those kind of conditions can handle it, because I want to put a drill in my head.
This has been going on for 5 years.
Yeah, no,
before I got some treatment for it, more than 5 years. It was dizziness to the point where I threw up from it.
Oh God, that's terrible.
And then I see him. Well, he was also on one of those gyroscope things, but I think that's sort of what he's got.
Yeah,
a little bit. But anyway,
did this start around when you got the vet? That's what I want to ask, because this could be an astronaut syndrome. So
it is.
Yeah.
When I got the first Corvette.
Okay.
No, what I was going to say a couple times, but I never could get in, was I was excited by the thought that this was a 4-episode miniseries. I actually didn't realize that it was, and I'm not. That's before I even started it. I'm like, oh, it's only 4 parts. I can watch that, and I don't know that I want to commit to another if it's going to be like
you're watching
10
The
episodes.
Vow, which is about. It's not even showing the real people. Like
No,
you're not
it
even
was
seeing
showing the real
Chloe
people.
have
It was
sex
all
with
the
some
real
dude.
people.
Okay, Barry.
It's not-
Barry, you talk for 5 minutes about Saved by the Bell. You got time. You got time for this. Okay,
Dave, just so you know, The Vow was all the real people. It was not a dramatization. It was a documentary.
But we didn't see any of the good stuff. Did they show any brandings?
Yes.
Or anyone,
okay.
Yes, they showed. Well, they didn't show it while it was happening, but they showed the aftermath of it.
I don't want to see.
Okay, so I will continue watching this. Dave, I assume you're on for the ride.
Yeah, I'll watch it. It's
Okay.
Yeah.
Barry will loop back to you on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's 45-minute episodes. I'm sure I'll finish it at some point, but
I
I
will
like
say,
it. I'm just not feeling like, oh my god, I can't wait for the next episode.
I think we are at a point now where historic depictions are really benefited by CGI. I think they're doing stuff really, really well. I think things that would have been cost prohibitive they can now do. That the early shot in the first episode, Dave, with the two planes was just amazing, which is not something they could have done physically. And the two planes, the one that crashed,
Yeah, the two test planes.
you would never have taken those planes off the ground in real life. But yeah, like I said, stuff like that is great. And I think, like I said,
I
it
just
just
hope we
keeps
see
getting
more
better.
of it.
So
That would grab my interest a little bit more than the family drama stuff.
well, here's the thing with
Yeah,
history.
no, I agree with that.
Here's the thing with history, Barry. We know it'll happen. So
Yeah, but if it takes 10 episodes to get there,
yeah.
then you
It's
lost
gonna.
me.
Well, maybe.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
All
Again,
right,
one of the more
let's just-
dramatic things that's coming up, and it might happen is the Russians are going to pull ahead. So this is there's interesting things.
So let's just talk briefly. There's been these are only TV shows. I don't think I've seen many of these
So
things.
what I did for this list is I did some research, and I found I was looking for shows that either revolved around the space program or had a principal character who was an astronaut. If an astronaut was a supporting character or a former astronaut, I skipped it entirely. But there had to be the main character had to be an astronaut, or it had to be about the space program. Because I think part of what the whole thing here is that there's a certain cachet attached to being an astronaut that's just, at different times in history was, been huge.
Oh, well,
But
we should have
do you
put
wanna
Big
just-
Bang Theory on the list because Wolowitz was an astronaut.
I did not put that on there.
There you go.
So, that's a good point. So
Just hit me when you
going
said it.
back to if we start at the bottom, and maybe we'll go in order here, we'll take turns. But Men into Space 59 through 60. I'm aware of the series. I was aware of the series. I couldn't remember what it was called, and this was like the equivalent of the series the FBI. It was done completely with support of NASA, and they really did it to get public awareness up. And,
interesting.
And it was done, it was about a person who was like an official with the space program, and they tried to build up a bunch of intrigue about it. There was no real kind of space programmy stuff. It was more like behind the scenes kind of thing. But again, it was part of a propaganda campaign to build up public interest in this. So, and then Dave is one you might have heard of. That's next.
Oh, I Dream of Jeannie.
Yep.
Takes place at NASA in Florida. I gotta say, I love this show. It's one of my favorite shows ever. It is probably the worst depiction of NASA in all of these things. It just was, other than the couple of stock footage shots
That you
of the
saw
front of
over and
NASA,
over again.
It was so unrealistic.
It was so, and boy, they spend a lot of time in bureaucracy. I mean, it was just like they were just always doing office stuff. I will say, I thought for the longest time that you had to be a Air Force pilot to be an astronaut, and it was totally based on I Dream of Jeannie. So
yeah, but well, I only saw I Dream of Jeannie in black and white because we didn't have color TV until like the late 70s. But Roger is not in Air Force. I don't know what he's in because I don't think their uniforms are accurate. Roger wears a green uniform.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't remember that.
He in the Army? I don't know if he was in the Army or... Not that anyone really was... No pilots have ever been in the Army. So I don't know what he was really wearing. Neither one of those two guys would have made it in any armed service at the time. I mean,
hey,
but
early on, Larry Hagman sort of had a military haircut early on. So
I don't know what I'm going to type that in. I don't know what branch of service he was not in. Most pilots at the time were either Air Force or Air Force, Marines, or Navy. There was a lot of Navy pilots, but
I think he was supposed to be a Marine. To be honest with you, but
yeah, he'd be a Marine.
I'm just saying. I think uniform wise, I think he was supposed to be a Marine. So, Barry, are you familiar with the next one at all?
No, I was going to say, while you look that one up, Dave, I'll take this next one, although I've never heard of it. It's called It's About Time. It ran from 66 to 67, so it ended the year I was born.
Yes.
But the description is, 2 astronauts traveling faster than light go back in time to prehistoric Earth. Unable to return, they make friends with the natives. This sounds like Land of the Lost.
It is, okay, no. This was a comedy, okay? It was terrible. Okay, the guys always wore their astronaut suits, though. So basically, they hung out with cavemen. They always wore astronaut suits. And I do remember this, but one of the main reasons I remember this, because I do kind of remember seeing maybe an episode here or there, but we had a lunchbox in my family from this show. And it had a space capsule on it, and it had astronauts. And we had like our communal collection of Matchboxes and Hot Wheels lived in this lunchbox. I have no idea where it came from, but we had that for years and years. And that's mostly where I'm conscious about that show. So
I just looked it up
mostly
on
lost
Google.
the history.
It looks utterly ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. So
wait, going back to Roger.
Yep.
Roger was in the Army.
He was.
Of the original 7 Mercury astronauts, which I guess maybe they theoretically could have been in the next, none were in the Army. I don't think there were any pilots in the Army at that time.
Well, no, because the Army Air Corps became the Air Force in 1948.
Maybe that was the uniform they could have got their hands on.
Yeah,
so,
that was what they had in
That's
central
interesting.
casting or in central costuming.
So, okay, so then I'll grab the next one.
You've spaced these out.
I put them in chronological order. I put them in chronological order. Best TV show ever, $6 Million Man. And former astronaut test pilot is injured and rebuilt better, faster, stronger. So
and I can't remember the one time was it in the second episode that he busts out his Apollo.
The name's
suit.
on the suit. We watched that together.
Yeah, and that was the most NASA-y thing they really did, right?
Though this was the interesting thing. He was periodically in the first few seasons recognized as having been an astronaut. That's how they got him in like reception, like embassy receptions and stuff like that sometimes. And then they just stopped talking about it. It was like I think it occurred to somebody that an astronaut would not be a good secret agent because everyone, I think the original idea was they were thinking like Bill Cosby and Robert Culp.
I Spy
is that his, it was
the tennis pro.
They were tennis pros yeah. So this would be, his cover, but then they just stopped mentioning it altogether. Like he went everywhere and no one recognized him. So yeah.
He also drove a Corvette in the first couple episodes, and then he wound up driving a freaking station wagon after that.
Yeah, I assume that was an OSI company car, but
budget cuts.
Yeah.
So there's 8 more of these, and none of them are that good. Do we really want to go through the entire list?
Okay, let's. You want me to just hit it quick?
I honestly haven't seen any of these. Have anyone seen any of these?
I've seen all these. I have some reference. Wow. So Dave, I'm really surprised by that. Seriously?
I haven't seen any of them until we get to For All Mankind.
The Cape. I watched the Cape was a syndicated series about a program for shuttle pilots, and the all very attractive shuttle pilot candidates. And I did watch that. Adam Baldwin was in it. Corbin Berenson was in it. In 2009, Defying Gravity was a little bit set in the future.
I remember that. I think I saw 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah, it lasted 3/4 of a season. It was okay, but again, it did very much the away thing. It ended up being all interpersonal drama. This person doesn't like that person. This person's ex is also on the thing. Did either of you see Astronaut Wives Club?
Nope.
No.
Okay. One of the actresses from that plays one of the wives in this current series, which is kind of interesting. The Yvonne Strahovski is in that, which is the only reason why I might look it up. Okay. Now, Mars, I watched the first of 2 seasons of, and that is the National Geographic thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so that was the mission to Mars. They did the
I thought it was sort of a docudrama.
Well, because they went they did the kind of the Martian thing where they took technology exactly as we understand it and applied it directly, at least for the beginning, and it was very dry. It was people they would send into space are not hugely interesting people interpersonally, and that was kind of what the problem was. All these people were convincing as the botanist and the whatever that you would send into space, but they weren't that fun to hang out with. So, that was what it was.
Mars. Yeah, I watched the first, which I watched all of it.
You did.
It was a letdown.
Yeah.
The NASA stuff was very much unlike real NASA. It was a little weird. The NASA stuff in that was very much like the NASA stuff in a way, it felt like.
Okay.
A way seemed like it had a more updated version because, they did show some mission control and stuff like that, but neither one was great.
I made 2 episodes of that and then I was going to go back and I just was not that interested.
It's not worth it. It's a letdown. It gets weird. It's so funny, and it's very much about personal lives and stuff, and, you don't know what his problem is, and, like... Can't you just get going to space or Mars isn't compelling enough? I mean, I'm not saying you can't have some interpersonal drama, but let's make it more about getting there.
Yeah.
So,
Barry, you want to speak to Space Force?
Yeah, and I think I've talked about it on the show. I'm not going to give it a ringing endorsement. I watched all of it because it was early on in COVID and I had nothing to watch. It's all right. I really like Steve Carell, so I watched it for him. It's got its moments. It can be funny, but it was okay. It's just okay. And I think that's the problem with a lot of this stuff is that it's just okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it on... What's it on, Netflix?
It's Netflix, yeah.
If you don't have Netflix and you do have Showtime, this show is coming on to Showtime. They're just calling it Moonbase 8 because it seems like the exact same thing. That comes on in a couple weeks or something.
Good, so we'll have another one to talk about.
It's like the same premise. It's some comedy thing. Like, I don't get it.
Of all these shows, and we've talked about it pretty extensively, but For All Mankind is, I think, the one we all would recommend the most of all these things that are,
well, that's, so away we tick off the list, and then we're back to right stuff. Yeah, I was going to, that was my question. I would say, I'm excited for another season of For All Mankind. I will watch this show. But I'm excited for another season of For All Mankind, and
I hope they promote it because I think a lot of people haven't seen the first season, and it's really good.
Absolutely,
people need to go back and watch this show.
Yep,
totally.
Yeah,
Apple was all about the morning show. They really didn't promote much other than that. Even to the point, I'm trying to think, Times Square had billboards. Apple took over for a couple months, and the morning show, there was this show called Dickinson.
Yep.
With Haley Steinfeld or something.
Yep.
And then there was that Jason Momoa show. They all had big, giant billboards. I don't even know if there was like a small For All Mankind one. They didn't even promote it. But it was the least
put a lot of money
promoted
into
of their
it, and it's
original
really,
shows.
Really well done. And they really, I hope that they get behind it with the second season, because then people will actually discover a whole first season that they haven't seen, and then the new season.
And it's, I can say, it's gotten some good write-ups too. So it's you know,
I don't know
it's an
anybody that's
interesting
watched
premise.
it other than you guys and Brian. Like, I don't know anybody.
I will
that's
tell you
even
though,
seen it.
it's not. You're absolutely right. I've described it to people. It's a hard thing to pitch. I mean, it's like, again, like I said, is the audience a subset of people who are interested in the space program to begin with? Because, you know, again, I really like it for the kind of rewritten history elements. You know, I love making Teddy Kennedy president and doing all these kinds of things that, you know.
And I like it, you know, the beginning of it is very much a very interesting look into NASA in the 60s and 70s. So there's that part to it. But I would be playing up all these other things. Yeah. You know, because...
the intrigue of what goes on the moon. And for season 2, I think Machine Guns on the Moon is going to get a lot of people's attention.
Yeah.
But they don't even... they haven't marketed it and they haven't played up of, like, the Russians beat us to the moon. You know, the rewritten history of the space program. Like, that's interesting stuff. It's pretty original. I mean, and not, you know...
And I kind of feel
the
like...
playing out of the Cold War on the surface of the moon was... I found that stuff to be
And I
riveting.
kind of feel like people who liked The Man in the High Castle could have been brought into this because, again, it's the same thing. It's an alternate spin on history. Honestly, it's no one, you know, you don't see people talking about it, but I do think it's good. I think there's, you know, very interesting depictions of the characters, and I like it. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to more.
So if you're going to watch anything on this list, definitely watch For All Mankind. Definitely watch $6 Million Man and I Dream a Genie. That's our recommendation.
Yes,
pretty much.
It's without question our most factual depictions of NASA life. So
exactly.
Yeah.
If you had a genie.
If you had a genie or bionics.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, let's go. What's in the box?
Show you with the box. Who's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box?
Regular Joe's What's in the Box.
Who's ready? Barry, what's in the box?
All right, I'm going to go with something I haven't told you guys about. Back in the 80s, I worked at a radio station called WLIR. It's a pretty famous new wave radio station.
I am the morning
on the East Coast.
DJ at WLIR. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Anyway, one of the bands I was super into back in the 80s was a band called Berlin. Lead singer was a woman named Terry Nunn.
Yeah.
And she ties into Star Wars because she auditioned to play Princess Leia, and she's actually in the deleted scenes on the Blu-rays of her audition.
Also in Top Gun, Tom Cruise.
That's right. She sings the Take Your Breath Away song. I was supposed to go the night that I went on my third date with Maria, who's now my wife. We went to see Berlin, and I was supposed to take her backstage, and there was a whole mix-up because I had hooked that up through the radio station. Anyway, all this is a long-winded way of saying I have an autographed little mini poster from Terry Nunn. It says, "To Passion, Barry. Love, Terry Nunn." Yes, Dave, there's...
No, I was just... What is that, To Passion, Barry?
It's just To Passion, Barry, and then down here it says, "Love, Terry Nunn." This was something that she was doing on her Facebook page, like literally $15 signed poster. So
is that her now? Or is that
no? You know what? She looks really good still. Yeah, that's relatively.
That's
recent.
a good picture.
Yeah. So
very cool.
Yeah. So
that's exciting.
I'm not always a huge fan of autographs that I wasn't there to get in person, but for $15, I couldn't pass it up.
There you go.
So
cool.
That's what's in the box. Todd, what's in the box?
Okay, so Dave showed us a book last week. I had book envy, so I bought Space Toys of the 60s.
That looks new.
This is a hard book to get. I was very surprised.
You can tell by the printing; it's very unprofessionally printed.
I scored this for cover price. But from a seller on eBay, but there's also somebody on eBay trying to sell one for like $129, and there's a few websites online where you can buy it for like $99.
Jesus!
So look around, people. You want this? It's actually, if you're interested in this stuff, it's a really
There's a lot of cool.
It's
stuff
a great reference that you don't find anywhere else.
I wish it was printed better.
Yeah, I do wish it was printed better, but there's a lot of really good stuff in here, and some things I have not seen since my childhood, and because it's a
lot of major Matt Mason. It's a lot of Zeroids. We were talking about Zeroids
color
last
forms,
week.
aliens. It's all that kind of stuff. But again, the printing is definitely kind of substandard. I will tell you the Commander Comet. Okay, the guy with the angel wings. I can remember vividly buying that at the 5 and 10 in Greenfield with my Aunt Laura, okay? And we would walk there from my Aunt Laura's house. It was 2 miles, but she was all about that. And on the way home, losing the wings. And, I was probably 6, but I can remember being, getting home and being very disappointed to find that he had lost his wings. And I think I need to find a Commander Comet now. But anyways,
Jesus, that's the color form ones? I bought the reissues of those that I sold.
Yeah,
because I wasn't doing it. I don't know. I don't think that guy was one of them.
No, he wasn't one they remade. But
see, those books are fun, but they always end up costing you more money because you find things that you forgot.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. I was going through that, and I will say the good thing about this book is a whole lot of the things cannot be found in decent condition. There was a lot of bendy stuff in that era, and it's this stuff just dematerialized. So it's really good having this or super fragile stuff, like the Zeroids. So it's good having this reference to be able to see pictures and know what you're looking for, and know realistically that you won't get a lot of it.
I picked that book off the shelf when you told me about your Zeroid that you bought.
Yep.
And I had read it. Oh God, I must have it 10 or 15 years. There was stuff called Star Team or something.
Yep.
That had little kid sort of astronaut stuff.
Yep.
And I had the belt as a kid.
Oh.
And I always wanted the helmet. And I distinctly, this is one of these stupid things you do as a kid. And I must have been 5 or 6. So I know I had the belt. It came with all these sort of accessories. And I was at a carnival, one of these firemen's fairs kind of things. Yeah. And you did whatever. I don't remember what it was to win. And I did something and I won like any prize you want. And 2 of the things on the pick anything you want was the helmet, the Star Team helmet, and then this weird, I don't know what the hell it was, magic hat with rabbits in it or something. Yep. And I'm like, oh, rabbits. Let me take that instead. And like, why I ever did that? And I knew I had wanted this helmet forever. It's just one of those stupid things I did, and I don't know why.
Sounds like it's one of your big regrets, Dave, in your life.
It is one of I distinctly remember that. But that stuff is hard to find. There's a guy selling like the whole lot of it on eBay for like $2,000 or something.
So
and
you mentioned the fireman thing. When I was a kid, my father was an insurance agency, and one of his companies was Fireman's Fund, okay? And they had the little plastic fire helmets that they gave out for kids. And what they would do is every year they would send the insurance agency a huge box of them, and he would bring a bunch of them to the fire department. And then when there were parades and stuff like that, they would hand them out to kids and stuff. Well, that was like once a year. So these things were always in demand. I traded those those fire hats, which I had like unlimited access to, for all kinds of things. And I can remember actually getting like 2 or 3 color forms aliens in trade for like 3 or 4 of the helmets, and blow mold plastic fire helmets. So,
good. But yeah, I would like to buy those Star Team things.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway.
Oh, this is where you
Dave,
throw it to Dave.
Dave, what's in the box? I'm sorry, I forget our order. It was so long ago. Dave, what's in the box?
Okay, it actually came in a bag, but I mentioned this when we did our T-shirt thing. I did find a Peace Through Superior Firepower T-shirt.
Oh, excellent!
Nice.
It's not exactly the one that they wore. That the dude wore in Aliens, because the gun picture is different. But this I got on TeePublic, I think. I did upgrade the shirt, so it wasn't 50-50 polyester and cotton. This is almost all cotton. Again, this was the fitted cut, and if you remember my discussion of I don't like the traditional cuts, but the arms are like you could fit like 2 arms in this armhole.
Okay.
So it's not fitted like a normal shirt of the very late 2000s, which are completely different.
Boy, there were political
Anyway.
rallies you could wear that to, and people would just be like, people would glom right on you, Dave.
I know. I think this is something that you wear in the house.
That would go good with the MAGA hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh. Give me a break. Ugh.
So did you guys do anything interesting recently?
We did. In the 3 minutes we have left.
Nice segue.
Barry, why don't you
All right, so
start?
Dave was actually the one that found out about this and recommended or suggested to me that we do it. Adam Savage, who's affiliated now with Silicon, I think is the name of the convention out in California.
Silicon Valley Comic-Con that's turned into Silicon.
And
it's now, I think, known as Adam Savage's Silicon or something.
It's been rebranded around him. But he was doing an online sort of maker class where you sign up and they send you all the parts in advance, and only thing you'd need is a glue gun to be able to assemble it. And then you do an online class with Adam for an hour and a half. So, and honestly, it was incredibly reasonably priced considering that you got all the materials and everything. And then they threw in all this other stuff, most of which was useless, but they gave us an Amazon Echo Show 8, which is a $140 device.
It's like a video version of
it's
the
like
Amazon
a 10-inch iPad
Echo
screen
device.
slapped on the front of an Alexa.
Or
we paid-
$69 on
paid-
Amazon Day. Yeah.
Right, but we paid $60 for the class. It's
great.
And it included
$60 for the class, and you got the Amazon Echo Show. You got a silicone hat, a silicone mask. You got the materials to build the thing.
And you got a Monster energy drink.
The Monster Energy, which we all threw away. Not a sponsor here. Yeah. And then you had the class, which was the whole idea. I mean, if they said do the class for $60 and then just get the stuff to build, I would have done it anyway.
Right. So what you ended up building was a helmet, and what they did was it was cardboard pieces that were laser cut, and then he was going to walk you through how to assemble it using nothing but a hot glue gun. Dave and I both didn't know what to expect.
For me to jump in on that, Adam does, if you watch his tested, he does talk about like the entry level material for new makers is cardboard, corrugated cardboard. I'm not an entry level maker, but I kind of agree that's an easy thing to get started in. If you've never made stuff, it's easy to play around with that.
Well, it's good for prototyping
I've been making
stuff.
since I'm 5 years old.
Yeah, it's good for prototyping stuff. You can do a lot with it. It's very malleable. And you can glue it together. So even if you're just using it as a proof of concept for things, but these were very precision, accurately cut on laser cutters pieces.
I gotta say, and that was impressive, even to the point where if you know corrugated cardboard, it's got the lines going one way. They oriented the cuts so that when you you take the piece and you sort of bend it a little to join them. They bent along the corrugations, which that in and of itself is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it was well engineered. I mean, honestly, when they said you were going to build a helmet, I had something else in mind. I just was assuming space helmet or flight helmet or some kind of helmet. I wasn't thinking Roman helmet that looks kind of like a bird with a big beak on it, which is ultimately what we did.
It's a helmet that he had built like years ago,
Right.
so he sort of prototyped it off of that. But yeah, I am in the same boat. It would have been very cool if it was a space helmet, or like even a NASA helmet or something.
But you know what? I thought it was fun. It was not in any way interactive. Like other than, well, I shouldn't say not in any way interactive. You could chat with each other.
Not with him.
Yeah, he ended up originally planning to do it from his shop, but he was in a hotel room, so that might have impeded it a little bit for him. But he had his phone there. I guess he could get messages from the people running it. I had no problem keeping up. Dave had no problem keeping up. I think so. Class was limited to 200 people. It seemed like, based on his feedback, A, people were telling him he was going too fast, and B, people could not keep up. So
okay, I'll tell you this. I don't think Barry had the chat on because we talked about that. So I was watching it, and I had left the chat on, And, you know, it was interesting. There's a lot of people, where's everyone from? There's a lot of that as before it got started and all that. There was like, he's going too fast. I can't keep up. My glue gun doesn't work. It's not sticking. I just ripped it. What happened? I don't know where to go. What's he doing?
Oh my God!
Video on full
That would have been
screen, so
awesome if you could have saved that. That's great.
I couldn't see any of that because I was in full screen video. The other thing I will mention is, and Dave had the idea, and it was fun. We both said, what the hell are we going to do with these Echo shows? I know. Why don't we keep them on our desks while we're doing it? And we video chatted with each other through the whole hour and a half class. So we had a video line open between us so that we could, you know, talk to each other as it was going.
Because that's the thing with this Echo show. If you can basically have the, you know, the video phone from the 50s, that you can call anyone else with an Echo show.
Right.
It's FaceTime.
And
I mean,
the quality of it was fine, and
but...
the audio was fine. And I mean, look, for what it is, the Echo Show 8 has great sound. It's got really good speakers and a subwoofer.
It does have good sound. It's a great thing. I just don't know what to do with it, but
it's a great alarm clock.
It was
funny.
funny. One person was like, "I don't have this piece." What do you know? There was a lot of that. There was and I guess you could buy a glue gun if you didn't have one for $5 with the package. Meanwhile, I have 6 glue guns, and me and Barry both bought glue guns for this anyway.
Right, but I didn't have a good glue gun. But I've only had a tiny little crafty one, so this was good.
People are like, my glue gun's not working. I don't know what to do. Where's the? I don't have any more glue. I ran it. It was pretty entertaining.
He kept trying to say, and I think some of it was heartfelt and honest, and some of it was, I think, a little bit of spin. But he kept saying, "Don't worry if you can't keep up. Don't worry if you make a mistake. You can always fix it. It's just cardboard and glue. Like, you'll be able to go back and watch the video again after. We're going to post it to you for later, so you can, you know, go back and work at your own pace." And so he kept trying to sort of like say, "Don't feel bad if you can't follow along at the pace I'm going." But you know, he needed to get through it in an hour and a half because it wasn't an unlimited amount of time.
Okay, so
and he did go over. It was at least an hour and 45 minutes.
Can you show us the? Can I see what you mean?
Yeah, I've got to go grab mine. Hang on one sec.
I'll grab it.
Okay, people, I've gotten rid of them now.
The whole idea was you sort of make this thing, and it's like a chicken thing, and then you finish it on your own. He got us to this
no,
stage,
Dave, that's not
basically.
a chicken thing. That's a plague mask.
Yeah, well, he did say that, right?
Well,
at some point.
The reason mine wasn't in the room with me is because I went a little further than Dave. I've not finished. I've come closer, but I put a coat of primer on it, and it's primer that I hadn't used before, and it smells so bad still. I primed it on Saturday that I can't keep it in the room with me, otherwise I get a headache. But mine is a little bit further along. I actually put eyes in mine. I put these pieces on.
They have all these other pieces to put on.
Yeah, they give you a bunch of different pieces.
Okay, so for those of you who are playing the home game, do you remember what the heads looked like in Spy versus Spy?
Yeah,
in Mad Magazine. That's kind of what these things are shaped like.
Yeah, we'll put pictures up of them.
Yep.
Yeah,
I kind of like it without the fins better. I think it's kind of the fins are odd.
It's got these sort of fur feathery things. This
Woody Woodpecker head thing. Wow, that
goes like that.
I'm actually thinking of mounting those on the sides.
So Barry, did you get different ones, or they're optional pieces?
They give you a couple different pieces to choose from. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dave, go with the Woody Woodpecker head thing. Oh yeah, I like that. That's nice. That's nice.
I'll send this to you.
So my next step is to paint this silver, so that it looks a little more metallic. I also coated it with a combination of duct tape and masking tape just to give it, because some of it.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So you know, it was fun. It was fun that we did it. It was fun that Dave and I did it together.
You see all the tabs? It's all this glue and tab thing and hot glue. It would have been cool if it was sort of like a Star Wars helmet or a space helmet.
If it had been a little bit more spacey, I think I would be far more eager to finish it. Although I do want to put a coat of silver on it just to see what it looks like. And you know, I did the eye holes and I made sure I measured them so I could actually see out of it. And you know, if it didn't reek of primer, I would put it on my head and wear it.
Yeah, probably for the best. We don't want you to pass out.
No,
yeah,
I
definitely
honestly had
give
it
me
in here
pictures
with
of
me
both
the
of
other
those,
day.
and I'll get the the website caught up this week.
Yeah, I had it in the office here with me the other day, and I think it gave me a raging headache, the smell of this primer coming off of it. So,
Jeez, what kind of primer is it?
It was just Tester's gray primer. I mean, I really
It's
thought...
the Barry. It's the duct tape. Primer and duct tape makes weird stuff.
Is that what it is?
Or paint, spray paint and duct tape makes weird things happen. So,
okay, well,
yep.
So look, it was fun. I'm glad we did it. I don't regret it in any way. We had a good time. This, I was hoping to have something that I might be more compelled to want to finish and display. This is definitely not that, but
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I would do it again. It'd be interesting. I mean, it's freaking cardboard. It was pretty entry level, but. Hey, I don't know. Maybe there's people who've never really made anything. It could have been a little faster.
I could imagine if there was some like teenage kids in there, they might have had a harder time. We've also, I mean, look, you're far more advanced at building things out of materials like that than I am. I mostly glue things together and paint them, but
yeah,
I
suspect I'd have been looking for pieces the whole time, and it's like trying to keep up. So, yeah,
I did burn myself on a glue gun a few times.
I did too.
You always do.
He did take you through like 3 steps of how to stop from burning yourself.
Yeah, which was helpful.
That's good.
But
that's good.
You got to burn yourself with a glue gun. Okay.
All right, so I did have one other thing I wanted to show you guys in while we're talking about making.
Let's do that as a last thought. Any last thoughts?
Yes, I happen to have one. So I'm trying to remember. I think it might have been around Father's Day, but at one point I had bought a whole bundle of Star Wars droid model kits from Bandai in a package deal. It was like $80 for like 5 model kits. I ended up with a bunch of R2-D2s. You guys have seen, I've shown you all the ones I've built. I've built R2-D2 in multiple versions. I built R5-D4. I built this other droid. I don't even know his numbers. I built 3PO and whatever. I had ended up with an extra R2 kit that I never built because it was a duplicate of one I already had. And I didn't quite know what to do with it. When Eddie Van Halen died, I decided that I needed to do this.
Oh my God! Look at that.
To Eddie Van Halen. So I'll send you guys pictures of it, but it came out. I think it came out really good. It's all in the color scheme of Eddie's guitars. It's got the
wait a minute. So Eddie Van Halen. I thought that was like modeled after the La Serena. Okay,
not quite, but it's got the yellow and black. It's got the white and black stripes. It's got the red and white black stripes. It's all Eddie's
cool.
Color scheme. So I'll send you a picture of it. But I was very, very pleased with my decision to strike this thing up. So.
That is very cool, Barry.
Yeah.
And you got to see a picture of that. So we'll get that all up on the website around when this drops. So
there you go. Next week, Mandalorian, I'm sure.
Definitely. Yeah, let's talk Mando on Wednesday or whatever it is. So
it'll be Mando Tuesdays for us, but yeah.
We should, I don't know, we should live tweet it or something. Not live tweet it, live record it or something. I don't know.
They do have that watch in a group feature. I mean, I don't know that we want to do that maybe for the first viewing, but maybe at some point over the weekend, the 3 of us should try to watch it together.
That could be good.
Yeah, maybe like the second viewing. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But we should record that. We'll work that out.
Yeah.
Maybe something.
Even just to try that feature out, because we haven't really done anything with that yet. Let's see how it works and if it's worth.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Get out and vote.
Yes.
Do the right thing, people.
Yep.
Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I'm talking to you.
And
you know what I'm saying.
And despite advice from certain people, don't try voting twice. It's not going to work out well for you. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.